Look who I dragged out here today, huh?
Hello.
So hey guys, we're gonna do something.
Pardon me.
Like I'm wearing my robe, so whatever.
Uh,
You don't want to look like a schlub like this guy here. So yeah, we're doing a little special video together that we haven't kind of done in a while. You can obviously I did a review of Billions. It's got about 9 views so far. Let's get those views continuing up. I'll be doing one for Creepshow. I actually filmed it yesterday, or at least I thought I filmed it, and I spent like an hour and a half about Creepshow season 4, and then realized I went to upload it, and it's like, well, didn't hit record. So I'll be doing that again later by myself, because Anna hasn't watched any other seasons besides season 1.
Nope.
So she's completely behind.
I am far behind.
That's okay, but she's joining me for this because recently we actually rewatched the Sam Raimi trilogy. We finished up with Spider-Man 3 yesterday.
Yep. Yes,
so,
the Raimiverse Spider-Man trilogy.
Yes. So we thought it'd be fun to revisit it and then kind of talk about each movie, and then we also have, we have some problems with Spider-Man 3.
Because who doesn't?
Yeah. So we're going to kind of sort of at the end, after we reviewed all 3, we're going to do kind of a pitch of what, things we would do to kind of fix Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's, lots of channels have done, but
it's our turn.
We haven't done it.
It's our turn.
Nobody else is talking about the Raimi Spider-Verse right now. Yeah. If you want to see a funny little sketch inspired by Spider-Man 2, go over to Adam and Anna. We filmed a little thing from there that made us laugh while we were watching Spider-Man 2. All right, so let's start with the original Spider-Man.
2002 Spider-Man.
2002 Spider-Man. So, let's give our overall thoughts, or maybe how we, how we first saw it and stuff originally, and then.
Oh my gosh, aging ourselves here, dating ourselves.
Why not?
Yes,
we're old.
We are old. We both saw this when it first came out in theaters in 2002,
yes.
And I remember being blown away by it. That was the movie of the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
It really was.
I had gone with my parents and my brother because I was like, I had always wanted to see a Spider-Man movie, and there was like a TV thing and stuff, but like it was in the 70s and stuff, so it wasn't really like, mainstreamy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I went with and we just like absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it several times in the theater.
Yeah.
Because it was like. So, just to take things back to the early 90s and kind of set the stage for why Spider-Man's success was kind of a minor miracle at the time. The early 2000s were not a very kind period for superhero movies.
True.
We were still kind of in the dirges of the horrific failure that was Batman and Robin.
That'd be a fun series to revisit sometime. Watch those 4 movies. Superhero films weren't really, comic book films weren't really considered real movies anyway. Blade was the first stepping stone to changing that. And then X-Men in the 2000s, just because it had big names like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, and a then unknown Hugh Jackman. Right.
And the fact that it focused on the human element.
Yeah.
And then what really kind of ramped things up into high gear and really paved the way to where superhero films are today was Spider-Man in 2002.
Yep.
So its success was a huge, huge deal.
Totally.
So that's the way you come into Spider-Man in 2002. Does it still hold up?
I mean, obviously whenever you watch a movie from 2002 or before, there's always going to be some dated stuff.
Yeah.
But I've always been of the nature of you just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah.
You can be like, "Ooh, that wouldn't work today," or whatever. But I don't feel like it's too bad of a.
Yeah, a lot of the effects I feel really, really hold up. I think of the 3 films in the Spider-Man trilogy, the web slinging effects or web swinging effects hold up the best in this one, in the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially the one at the end where he swings like right into the camera.
Oh yeah.
It still looks really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, and again, a lot of what helps the film, like, they have a really strong cast.
Oh, totally,
Like, everyone was cast to perfection based on, the classic Silver Age comic book Spider-Man.
Yeah, I can remember, like, for years, them, like, having these kind of fan cast type of things and, like, different actors. I know DiCaprio was at one point interested, or they were interested in having him be
I remember hearing about that.
And I remember at the time, like, I like DiCaprio just fine now, but at the time he was just this little, baby face pretty boy in Titanic. I'm like, I don't want that freaking idiot being Spider-Man,
Well, they cast his best friend.
They did,
instead.
yeah. So
Tobey Maguire.
So that worked out okay. But yeah, I was like, I don't, that guy, because that's just, my sister was, of course, in love with him, but, because she, watched Titanic. Like, oh, he's so cute, it is what it is. But
he didn't get the part anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Tobey Maguire did.
Tobey Maguire did, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting too to watch though, because it's like how many people just like treated him badly, and he's like all these people on the bus, and it's like not everybody in high school is an asshole to you. I'm sorry. I mean, yes, you're gonna have occasional situations where someone's an outcast or something, but like, not everybody's gonna be a fucking asshole to it. It's not that. So it's just like,
I will say, in the comic books, like a lot of the reason that people are such an asshole to Peter is because he is very aloof and just kind of like, and this is like before he gets the Spider-Man powers. Yeah. He's just like very aloof and kind of off in his own world, and a lot of people like take that as him being like, just a lone wolf or someone who doesn't want to interact with other people.
Right.
And that's where a lot of like the cyclical nature of the bullying comes from in the comic books.
Yeah.
Here it's just people being early 2000 Abercrombie and Fitch douchebags.
Pretty much.
Bunch of 30-year-old looking people being like, why the hell why are you still in high school? What business do you have making fun of anyone when this is clearly like your 7th year? Like,
it's interesting too, just to like, obviously you have the main characters, but then like even just the little weird side characters, like that one teacher.
Oh my gosh, the teacher at the planetarium!
He was like whispering, he's like, you were talking to that woman the entire thing.
He was ready to kick a kid's ass.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's the thing with the film, is that it like, it does a really good job balancing the realism and the humanistic aspects with the over-the-top comic book aspects and the superheroing, and like a lot of that is through Sam Raimi's style with like, the Dutch angles and like the big mash cuts and sound effects, but also like letting things just play softly, like especially when Peter is having scenes with Uncle Ben or Aunt May.
Yeah.
Like there's a nice balance there where you're like, you get to know the characters, and like it really takes its time getting to know them. Yeah. And so it's like by the time people are masking up and turning into things, like, you care about them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And of course, Aunt May and Uncle Ben, we're both cast well. Yes.
Gosh, I don't remember, like the first, of course, like, okay, so when I first saw Spider-Man way back in 2002, my introduction to Spider-Man was from the newspaper comic strips that used to run in like the late 80s, early 90s, that sort of thing. It was on all the major, and written by Stan Lee.
Cool.
But it took place, when Peter's an adult, 2, he's married to Mary Jane, and 3, his biggest villain was Hobgoblin. So that was my introduction to Spider-Man, was that I knew him as the photographer of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
He's married to Mary Jane.
Yeah.
He's like in his 20s. He has an Aunt May, and his big villain is Hobgoblin.
Right.
I didn't know who Uncle Ben was.
Ah.
So yeah, and he wasn't real. I don't remember him like. like when I was reading the comic books, I don't know, for some reason, like it wasn't really clicking with me.
That's fair.
The whole thing with Uncle Ben. So seeing him die on screen like that, was a huge shock. Right. It was a huge shock. Because I didn't know. I did not know, and I was like,
played by Oscar winner Cliff Robertson.
Mm-hmm. Who, like, makes the most of his screen time, let me tell you.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and it's just, like, both of them, like, they look like they him and Rosemary Harris look like they just stepped right out of the comic book.
Totally.
And they're just, like, they're just that sweet old couple raising this young kid.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, too, like, there's always, of course, there's always going to be certain lines that stick out of, like, that are kind of like, that's kind of cheesy. Like, Aunt May, is that an angel? It's like, oh my God.
But it's like, I didn't, also, like, revisiting the film was all like, I didn't remember that, like, how heartwarming these interactions were.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I found them a lot more, it's much more touching on revisit.
That's true. Yeah.
Invested.
So invested. No, but me personally, if you've seen the reenactments on the channel, that I reenacted the mirror scene.
Yes.
And yeah.
Wherever could you have gotten that inspiration?
I don't know how he got that. But yeah, obviously I thoroughly enjoyed rewatching it just for Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe! Oh my gosh, yes. Are we going to talk about Willem Dafoe?
Fuck yeah.
Let's talk about Willem Dafoe, because holy guacamole. I have always loved him in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I was one of those fools who back in 2002, honest to God, thought he was going to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
Just based on that mirror scene, because I remember just being all like, this is amazing. Just like the control he has of his body and like those quick switches that he has to do, like shifting between the personalities. It's legit a tour de force performance.
Absolutely.
Regardless of whether or not he's dressed up as a Power Ranger villain, flying around. I can't imagine anyone but Willem Dafoe.
Oh, yeah.
Playing Norman Osborn.
Right.
He is absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of hilarious because he was nobody's first choice for the role.
Right.
And Sony really did not want him in the role.
Weird.
Well, it's because, like, apparently he was, according to Willem Dafoe anyway, he was told that because apparently, like, the audition process they put him through was just brutal because they were hoping he would just give up. Finally they told him that they didn't want him in the movie because the last time he played the villain in a blockbuster action film, that film was Speed 2.
Which is some very memeable faces.
Which is a horrible film. Yes, where we get the Willem Dafoe face.
Yeah.
It's a horrible film, and apparently Willem Dafoe's response to that was, well, I didn't write Speed 2.
Yeah. I was just there.
I was just doing my job.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think originally they wanted John Malkovich, I think, is what I think.
Nicolas Cage's name got tossed around too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be a different.
So did Kevin
Oh yeah.
We dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
We got the Norman Osborn that we deserved and that we needed.
Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah, like, yeah, he's just great. Like, he just.
Oh yeah.
Can't say enough about it.
Oh wait, well I have to. Do that one face when he meets Mary Jane for the first time. I haven't done that in a few minutes. Just like,
I'll do it to the camera. Let them see this creep show. God damn.
I do that to her sometimes.
Yeah. I also love that in the for Norman Osborn he wears dental screen to cover up his gappy teeth. And then when he's the goblin, like, it's his regular teeth. Yeah.
That's cool.
So we had a great, and he basically just invented how to be a Marvel comic book villain.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Like, that is the blueprint.
Yeah, and I like that, like, a lot of times they'll, like, either, like, really skim an origin, or they'll, or, like, you barely get to know anything about the villain and all that. Whereas this one, it's like, all right, we get the spider bite. Here's Spider-Man transforming, and then we go over to Norman Osborn, and he's doing, turned into the Goblin,
Yeah, and it's all
and
going...
getting dead-eyed eyes for the...
Oh my god, yes! Yeah, the dead-eyed eyes. Like, it's a blink and you'll miss it thing, but once you see it, you will never forget it.
Yeah.
And it's all done at a really quick pace. Like, it doesn't feel like anything drags. But it's... Yeah, but it's like, it's there, and it also makes a nice mirroring between the two of them, that they're going through their transformations in the same night.
Of course, holding this coffee mug, I can't think of but being one of the board members. They made us a generous offer.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, the movie just has so many great moments that have clearly stood the test of time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Toby's good. Yeah, and I think a lot of people will criticize Kirsten Dunst, I think, unfairly. It's like, I mean, there is a little bit of damsel in distress here and there with her, but, like, I don't...
But it's also like, what the hell is she gonna do? Someone, like, knocked her unconscious and carried her to the top of a bridge, and she woke up there with no way to get down.
Yeah.
Like, what was she... She's 18. What was she supposed to do in that situation?
Exactly. But I think so overall. And J.K. Simmons, of course, another perfect actor. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, he was so good they had to put him through a different universe just to keep him there. Yeah, because they had talked about all these other people they possibly put in the roles. I'm like, it'd be okay, but when they brought him back, I'm like, okay, they knew it.
Yeah. I heard there was plans to bring him into the Webverse too. Which is why you never actually see him, was because they were building up to meeting him.
Gotcha.
So yeah, he's a constant throughout the multiverse. Is that J. Jonah Jameson will always look like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's so great. He's so perfect.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and so I guess what are our final thoughts on 2002 Spider-Man?
Awesome. Still holds up. A good cast. And James Franco was good too. I know that James Franco's kind of in the canceled place now, but to be fair to the things with him, I think it's his accusations are proof or whatever. It's a lesser of evils. It's not a Kevin Spacey situation,
Yeah, I will say another thing that stuck out during this rewatch is I was never, just because Willem Dafoe does have a very distinct jawline. That lower half of his face.
Yeah.
It really wasn't until this rewatch that I'm looking at the two of them. It's like, my God, they really do look like they could be father and son. Because they have a similar bone structure and like the way they hold themselves, and then they styled their hair the exact same way, just like in the comic books. Again, A+ to the casting department. I would say the film definitely still holds up.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good time. So.
There are a couple of dodgy moments. Macy Gray.
Some days are gonna come to
just to remind you that this is the early 2000s. But again, totally outweighed by the stuff that holds up. It's just a fun movie to watch.
Totally.
And I personally feel that of the three has the most rewatch value. It may not be the best of the three.
Yeah. But definitely...
for me, it has the most rewatch value.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All
cool.
right. So
moving on.
To Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2. The rare sequel that topped the original.
Yes.
Despite what I just said.
Well, it did. It did. Yeah.
Just because something has most rewatch value doesn't mean.
Yeah. It's fine.
That's just my personal opinion.
So yes, we get our main three back, as well as J.K. Simmons, of course. And then we get Doc Ock.
Doc Ock.
Another great Spider-Man villain.
Yes, a classic. And again, perfectly... Like, I remember, again, we're dating ourselves here, but as soon as they announced that Alfred Molina was going to be playing Doc Ock, I remember just being like, yes, perfect casting. Absolutely. Now, they wrote him a little differently than in the comic books.
Yeah.
this version of Doc Ock is a lot luckier in love than
yeah.
comic book Doc Ock.
Yeah, that's true.
Who has some severe mommy issues.
True.
That we did not delve into in this film, which is fine.
Right.
But
it's
my
okay
gosh,
with
Alfred
Gus
Molina, yeah, he is perfectly cast as Doc Ock. And again, if you were going to do, I would say that Willem Dafoe tapped into a lot more sympathy and pathos for Norman Osborn than is often depicted in the comic books.
True.
But like, if any Spider-Man villain was going to have a sympathy for the devil sort of story arc, it's Doc Ock.
Yeah.
And they really lean into that, and
they
do a really good job with it.
I just remember my dad was really excited because he especially with the arms and all that, he just thought it looked super cool.
Doc Ock is my dad's absolute favorite Spider-Man villain. He was so hyped for this movie, and he still loves it a lot. And the arms themselves are amazing because they're like a combination of practical effect and CGI. And so like they look amazing, like they just look menacing on screen.
Right.
Like they're just gonna like smack somebody in the face. I meant to say thwack.
Thwack.
And it came out thmack. My apologies. I did not mean.
We forgive you.
Thank you. Like the hospital scene where the doctors try to surgeons try to remove the arms, and this again, if you want to make a good comic book movie, hire a horror film director.
Exactly.
Because that scene is terrifying.
Oh yeah.
In a way that is kind of over the top and cartoony. Yeah. And has no soundtrack whatsoever. But like it really. Like, it just not a drop of blood. I mentioned that during our viewing, but it's all like, it still feels very unnerving to watch. And then, like, you have that great, like, monster scene at the end where Doc Ock, because the arms have been operating without Doc Ock's control or consent. And when he wakes up and sees what's happening, no! And all the arms, like, roar, like, it's such a great shot.
Yeah. And Harry is, of course, mourning the death of his father and once Spider-Man dead, and is very like, it's funny, he kind of acts very much like a typical rich kid, like spoiled brat.
Yeah, much more than in the first film.
Yeah.
They hint at a storyline from the comic books for Harry that sadly has never really been delved into in any film, which makes me a little sad because it's such an important storyline to not only to Harry Osborn's character or Spider-Man, but to the history of comic books themselves, which is Harry Osborn's drug addiction.
Right.
Which at the time, that was huge at the time. It was the first time that like a Marvel comic hadn't gotten the seal of approval from the comic book approval association. I forget what it's called. But like it was something that had been put into place in the 1950s. Like any comic book that was published could only be published with that seal of approval, and it was how we got into the Silver Age, where suddenly Superman and Batman got really corny and very kid friendly because it was the only way the books could get published under that code, which outlawed a lot of things. From being depicted, and that included drug use, and that was something that Stan Lee wanted to tackle in a storyline, specifically with a character who was a friend of Spider-Man, to help kind of like destigmatize the issue and create awareness and help for people, and that comic book was he managed to convince them to let him publish the comic book without that seal of approval. And it was a big hit, and it destroyed that association, and it's how we get the comic books we get today.
Cool.
And that storyline has never been done in the movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes they're just I don't know. It's if the kids watch it or something, I don't know why they don't want to. Anyway, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's almost like there's still a
they don't really
stigmatization.
tackle that much with Tony Stark's alcoholism either. I mean, they do a little, but like they don't go into the demon in the bottle story or anything.
No, they didn't. I mean, they did kind of change it a little in Iron Man 3, where instead of alcoholism, he had PTSD.
Yeah.
Which I liked. You know, it's like at least and it's being treated respectfully and all of that. So like in Spider-Man 2, we have this like Harry's drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And is underage, and he's drinking a lot. And it's, you know, we, the audience, it's because the death of his father, and
right.
And his hatred for like he's got a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And but they never really like get into it. It's only really used as a means to like distance himself from Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's happening. Sorry, I went on a whole thing.
Yeah, you did.
I'm sorry.
Maybe others could talk.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, of course, Doc Ock is trying to rebuild with the tritium and all that stuff, and he's, you know, convinced that he can do it. He can make it work. The power of the palm and the son of my.
Yes.
Yeah.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Screwed that up. Anyway.
No.
And yeah, so there's that going on. Mary Jane is now dating J. Jonah Jameson's astronaut son, John Jameson, a.k.a. Man Wolf in the comics.
Yeah.
Though we never obviously
that
explore
never
that
happens here.
But yeah, it's so then there's the tension between her and Peter because, you know, Peter's so focused on being Spider-Man and, you know, and can't be at her damn play, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun to
and
also
won't explain that.
Yeah, it's fun to watch little, like, character actors that pop up in these movies too. You're like, hey,
yeah,
yeah.
Emily Deschanel, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, Octavia Spencer,
right?
Wrestling event, yeah. Of course, Bruce Campbell making his cameos, yeah. And yeah, but then, you know, and Spider-Man starts to actually lose his powers a bit, and you know, lose his confidence, and then, you know, he gives up. He gives the famous storyline of throwing the
Spider-Man no more.
Yeah. And we get the raindrops falling on the head.
Oh my gosh, that random freeze frame.
Yeah, some goofy Sam Raimi
so silly.
Stuff. Yeah, and then of course we get the reveal that, you know, Doc Ock, you know, wants the tritium, but, you know, he has to bring Spider-Man to Harry Osborn, who of course then sees that he's Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Doc Ock is taking Mary Jane, as you do. And so then, of course, he goes to rescue her. He goes back to being Spider-Man, of course. And then, then we also get the nice little, you know, moment where we get some redemption for Doc Ock. You know, he's like, I got to take this down, and
sacrifice himself.
And then, of course, Mary Jane sees that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Which, it's funny because they sort of, when she kisses him in the first movie, she has this kind of look on her face like she's kind of figured it out somewhat. But we just completely ignore that.
Yeah. I feel like there are ways you can tie it together. Like, if it, like, her dating John is the fact that, like, she knows he's Spider-Man, but she's, you know, if she was just rightfully upset that he keeps lying to her face for 2 years, that would make sense.
Right,
but it's like they forgot that part.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes Mary Jane look like an asshole in this movie.
A little bit.
Like, I mean, like, that's not, like,
Yeah.
that's not fair to John.
It's not,
to
John.
agree to marry this guy just because.
Yeah, that's it. It's a plot device.
Not because you actually care about him.
Yeah, and then we get the build-up for what could have been an epic storyline. We'll get to that. But, like, where Harry, you know, ends up finding, and we get Willem Dafoe popping back up in the mirror there.
Because we needed more Willem Dafoe.
We needed Hamlet's father.
Yes, exactly.
Because I think they realized too, like, much like other franchises or things like that, I was like, man, we shouldn't have killed him off so quick. Because could you imagine this trilogy if Willem Dafoe was, like, fully in it the entire time?
Right? Oh, that would have been amazing.
Right?
That would have been amazing.
But anyway, we get these little cameo things from him. And basically, the infamous screaming at each other, avenge me!
No!
Yeah. And then, of course, he sees all the goblin stuff hidden away and stuff, and the glider and stuff.
Yes.
So that kind of sets us up for the next movie, and then Mary Jane leaves John Jameson at the altar and runs to Spider-Man.
Which is a shitty move, man.
Yeah.
Such a shitty move. I mean, it's nice that, like, you know, our heroes are flawed and all, but it's all like, damn, why'd you have to, what did this guy ever do for you to do him like this?
He was just there. He was a guy.
He
He was a rebound. Why must you touch my shoulder?
Because I love you. Anyway.
But we, before we move on, the little scene that we did on Adam and Anna during the Doc Ock scene.
Oh, God.
We noticed this when we were watching it. And it's just like, there's this random guy. I think he's a reporter. I think that's what
he is. He is a reporter.
He's there to perform the thing. And then, like, in the middle of this thing, like, Harry Osborn's just smiling. And then he just puts his hand on his shoulder and he's just like, what is the line again?
He leans in really close and he's all like, this is a breakthrough beyond you.
This is a breakthrough beyond your father's wildest dreams.
Thank you.
It's just
it's so weird.
Weird. Like, who the fuck is this?
It's like, who are you?
Why are you here? Why are you touching me?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you're here to do a job, and it's like, why are you getting all up in Harry's personal space?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you do not know him like that.
As far as epic scenes, there's also the bank scene. And,
yes,
with
the
Joel
train
McHale.
scene. Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, the train scene is a very epic scene. Yeah.
Yes.
Very fun scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just like you said, good acting all around, and you know, good fun.
I had forgotten what a badass Aunt May is in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Shame on you.
Shame on you to Doc Ock, and like freaking karate chops him in the neck.
Yeah. Yes, these first two movies we get some really good Aunt May advice scenes.
Yeah, like her monologues are beautiful. Like I believe there's a hero in all of us monologue that she has towards the end of the film to help inspire Peter, and Rosemary Harris delivers it in this sort of like it's never actually said, but the subtext is, Peter, I know you're Spider-Man. Like Pretty that much, is definitely the subtext in how she's and how she's playing that. Like, yeah, Aunt May is just very lovely, especially in the second movie.
Right.
And a couple other things I wanted to say. Sorry.
You're fine.
I had a greater on rewatch. I had a greater appreciation for the subplot, where he loses his powers.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I first watched it, I felt like it came out of nowhere. It's like, well, what caused that?
Right.
And this time watching it, maybe it's from greater life experience.
Right.
It's because he's so depressed. Like he's literally so depressed that it's affecting him physically, and it causes him to lose his powers briefly. Yeah. And that it's all, like, especially in our post-pandemic mental health crisis era that we are in, it's all like, wow, this is a deep cut. This is a deep cut.
That's understandable.
Mm-hmm, yeah, like, and I think that's what part of what helps make Spider-Man 2 like so profound. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's really the right word, but it strikes a deep chord.
Totally.
In its way, and I really appreciate that. And they managed to do the thing on the train, and it's a delicate line, it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
This could have not worked, where everyone on the train who sees Peter's face, it just decides amongst themselves, we will keep his secret.
Yeah.
Like it's done in a way that, like, it works, it promotes human kindness.
Right.
It doesn't feel cheesy. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it doesn't feel cheesy in the same way from the first one. You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Yeah. So yeah, I think I actually enjoyed this more on rewatch than I did the first time I saw it even.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a really good one.
My dad really liked it too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's earned its place as one of the greatest comic book films of all time.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good.
And now that we've talked about
the greatest, now we get to move into Spider-Man 3. So, before we get into all the things and before we get into fixing, let's talk about some history about this movie real quick before we get into the whole thing.
All right, setting the stage.
Well, just because
Go for it, yeah.
Basically, there was a lot of studio interference in this movie. This studio really wanted Venom. Sam Raimi didn't want Venom.
They had wanted Venom since the first one.
Yeah.
That's why Eddie gets a name drop in the first film, despite the fact he doesn't, we find out in this film, he does not work at the Bugle. Like,
we need to get a name
Because like it's when they're when Peter first shows up at the Daily Bugle offering to sell pictures of Spider-Man, and Jameson is like he wants pictures of good pictures of Spider-Man, and there's someone saying like not even Eddie can get a good shot like.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's supposed to be a name drop for Eddie Brock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kind of like the Doctor Strange name drop in Spider-Man 2.
So, yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of studio interference, which Sam Raimi, I think, took his aggression out a little bit. And he's probably not going to admit that, but like, by some of the way he used Venom, casted Venom. And we'll get into that. But like, and in a way that felt like he just kind of was just like, okay, you want this? This is what and
this is how I'm gonna.
And I think I can understand frustration, but I think you have to understand that like when you are making a film, you're not making it for the fucking studio. I mean, you're getting paid by the studio, but you're making it for the people who are gonna pay their damn money and see it. So you probably should get your petty shit away, and just make a good fucking movie like you did the first 2 times. But that's neither here nor there. So, let's delve into Spider-Man 3. What went wrong? Now, I'll fully admit, from the first time I saw it, I actually didn't mind it. I saw this at a midnight showing. Like, before it officially opened, it was like a midnight screening. I went with a friend, my friend Tim, and we went and we enjoyed it okay. Like I said, we both admitted, not as good as Spider-Man 2, not as good as Spider-Man 1. But it had some good moments. We quoted a few lines here and there. But like, yeah. And then as I saw it a second time with a friend, and I was like, he was pointing out some criticisms, and I'm like, that's true. And then my dad saw it and was just like, fucking hated it. He says, they made Spider-Man an asshole. And, and he was just ranting and raving about it. And it's like, and I started to see it and I started to realize, yeah, not that I fully changed my opinion, because there were things I did like, but like, it also kind of like, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I could see that problem, because I don't want to be one of those people that's just like, oh, I love this. Well, maybe I don't, because obviously you can change your opinion. I've mentioned before, like, when I first saw The Dark Knight Rises, I didn't really like it. But when I've watched it on video since then, I'm like, it's not great. It's not as good as Dark Knight, obviously, or even Batman Begins, but there's some solid stuff in there.
And I had the opposite reaction to Dark Knight Rises.
And that's fine. But like,
yeah, exactly.
That's another movie to talk for another day.
Yes.
But anyway, let's try to talk about what does work in the film, and then we can get into the bad.
Sure. So I remember the lead up for Spider-Man 3 back in 2007 was huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Gigantic. It felt like it was going to be the movie of the year. I was excited for everyone I knew was excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically because there was so much dark suit, symbiote, Venom stuff in the trailers.
Yeah.
And like that's what we were all excited like yes, they're finally going to do this, and like they like that scene where like I think where the black suit, the symbiote first takes him, and it's like covering his face until like all the little ventricles are covered until like you can like barely see his eye before everything's covered up. Like that was in all the trailers, and and it's again a wonderful effects shot that still holds up.
Totally.
When we're talking about the positives.
Yeah.
That poster, regardless of the quality of the film, that poster has got to be one of the most iconic film posters ever made, with him in the black suit looking at his reflection of himself in the classic suit.
Yeah, totally.
Bravo. Thomas Hayden Church is giving his all as Flint Marko.
The scene when he transforms is a beautiful scene with music, and the way it's shot is actually very, very good. Yeah.
Once again, the effects in this film are really good, and for the most part really, really hold up. The only time it feels like they don't are in the web slinging scenes. Yeah. And I'm not quite sure why. Yeah. Like it feels like the web swinging scenes devolve with each passing film.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why. Maybe it's because like they were leaning more into CGI with each film, but that couldn't quite catch up to the times. just because like everyone looks a little rubbery.
Yeah.
And but overall, the effects are really, really good. Like the Sandman stuff, like legitimately looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And the scene, like basically it's like a giant chase scene with Spider-Man and New Goblin.
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah.
That looks really cool. It's like a classic car chase scene, except with a glider and web swinging.
Yeah.
And like the camera movement is really great.
Yeah. Then me and my friend, after we saw it, Tim, it's funny because there's that big line from the trailer where it's just like, "You knew this was coming, Pete. I didn't kill your father. He killed himself." And I was joking with my friend. He was like, I said, "What does your father do?" You know, I was joking like, "Oh, we can play out this scene." And it's like, "What does your father do?" "Oh, he's a foreman at the thing." It's like, "I didn't fire your father. He fired himself." I don't know. It was some dumb thing we were doing.
That's cute. Yeah.
The initial scene, he goes to see her at the theater and stuff, and they're in the web and all that. That's a nice
Yeah, that
scene.
looks beautiful.
Yeah, that looks nice, and it's a nice romantic scene. And stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, you could feel them like leaning into a lot of the things that made Spider-Man 2 work. Like those grounded, like that mixture of grounding and like larger than life comic book stuff.
Yeah.
And what else? What else was good? J. Jonah Jameson, always at the top of his game.
Yes, absolutely.
Bully Maguire.
I can at least laugh at
the
that,
Bully
yeah.
Maguire stuff. You know what? But like,
I'm
I'm gonna put some dirt. I mean,
I'll pay your rent when you fix this
damn door. Memes aside, I think it makes perfect sense that Peter's dark side is still just a freaking nerd.
Totally,
And that's how Tobey Maguire plays it, with like the cheesy dancing and the offbeat clapping and I know. I feel like it works. It works for the character. It's legitimately entertaining.
True. I agree. It's laughable to laugh at.
Kirsten Dunst looks very beautiful in the film.
Totally.
So does Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, they both look stunning.
Yeah.
Always nice to see Willem Dafoe pop up, even though it's like for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
We could have used more.
Yeah. Okay, so
I think that's it.
I think we've pretty much covered most of the good stuff that I can think of. So now
the opening credits remind us of the glory of Doc Ock. That's nice.
Okay, so let's
Jesus.
Before we get into our fixes, of course, but
oh God,
let's talk about the problems. Well, number one, 3 villains.
There's too much shit going on in this movie.
Because you literally will have New Goblin, then suddenly, oh, here's Sandman, then suddenly, you know, there's the symbiote thing going on, and then there's, but then there's also this issue with him and Mary Jane, and then Harry's got amnesia, and it's just like there's so much going on.
There's so much.
And Sandman has a sick daughter
into this film.
You know, and
yeah, because you remember how Doc Ock was a sympathetic villain in the second one. Let's do that to Sandman too.
Yeah.
Who is of the gallery of rogues that Spider-Man has. That's not one of the villains that you do that with.
No, he's not. That's
not who Flip Marko is.
Yeah. In terms of like positive, like Thomas Hayden Church definitely looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, and he is playing it to the hilt, like.
Yeah. Now, of course, I was a big fan of his because he was on Wings, and that was my show, and then Sideways was great too. So I was excited when he got the role. I was like, yeah, cool. But like, I think I had hoped that they would handle the 3 villains better.
He got really buff for that too.
He did, yeah. He got in good shape. But yeah, too many plot things going on, too many characters too. Really,
too much shit. Like literally, just too much.
Yeah,
like
and then we've talked about how great their Aunt May stuff was in those movies, and then we get the 20 fucking minute story about how Uncle Ben proposed, and it's just like
we were great swimmers.
And he looked good.
And I looked good, and we swam to the island.
And he said, mate, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, get to the fucking point and get back to the rest of the fucking movie. Like,
right?
It's like, I get you want to have Aunt May in here, that's fine, but like we don't need a 20-minute fucking story about how our Uncle Ben fucking proposed. We got all this other shit going on. It'd be fine if you were only focusing on one villain and you had some time for a little thing like that. Okay, fine. But like this, there's too much going on.
Right.
And there's too many characters you're covering.
Rewatching the trilogy pretty much in whole only made me even angrier about the Flanderization of Aunt May in Spider-Man 3. Especially because she felt so well-rounded in the first two films.
Yeah.
Especially in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And then you get like, and then you do this. It's all like, what, why are you doing this to Rosemary Harris? She never did anything to you.
Yeah. And then with the Harry stuff, it's like you have this amnesia thing happen, which, okay, whether you think about that or not. In the comics, it was years before he flipped back.
Yeah.
Not like a couple weeks or days or whatever.
Mm-hmm. You could have just cut the whole amnesia thing entirely. Like, it's not needed.
It's really not. You're not gonna go
it's
all out with it.
stupid as hell. James Franco looked like he toked up before every one of those scenes. He probably did.
He was getting ready for Pineapple Express. Anyway.
Especially in the few scenes that he actually does get to be a villain, you can tell he's really enjoying himself, and it's all like, this could have been so much more fun if you had just let him go full villain in Spider-Man 3. Strawberries.
And it's like, and the unnecessary like love triangle-y thing that didn't need to be there. It just like you have Spider-Man have this kiss with Gwen Stacy doing the upside down kiss.
Is it a square technically?
Kind of, but she doesn't get involved with Harry, so it can't really be a full square. But like, so you have that.
She's
thing.
A dangling appendage.
Yeah. So she's there. They have the kiss, but it's the kiss that Mary Jane kiss. So Mary Jane is upset because Mary Jane has been fired from this job that no one fucking called and told her. What kind of Broadway professionalism would not? We handled that badly. No shit. You shouldn't be working there ever again.
Right? She can sue you.
She can exactly. So I'm like, okay, no Broadway. I don't care comic book or not. No Broadway show is just going to be like, oh, well, we forgot to call and tell you that we're going to fire you.
Yeah.
They'd at least fucking fire you to your fucking face.
Yeah.
At least you'd hope. So, of course, she's all sad and depressed about this, and he's having a key to the city thing. And, he's just trying to pipe her up because she gets bad reviews. And look, it's fine. You got to listen to your wife, or girlfriend at the show. You have to make sure when someone's having a bad day, listen. But, that said, at no point does she fucking say, hey, I got fucking fired from this show. So that maybe this misunderstanding doesn't fucking happen.
It's the way it all boils down is incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
And like everyone's brains just slid out of their ears. And that's not fun to watch.
No, and then she kind of like has this scene with Harry, and it's like they kiss, and then there's a whole thing.
Thrill at the scene where Mary Jane Watson and Harry Osborn make omelets and dance in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Woo!
We definitely needed this scene.
Right?
And it's just like, what?
With everything else that's going on.
And so that was the whole thing. Like, you didn't need that. Like, you had this happy thing going. Like, I'm not saying you can't have tension here and there with her trying to adjust to, like, him being Spider-Man and knowing that he's going to be on the run a lot.
It happened in the comic books.
Yeah, and that's fine. Doesn't mean that, there can't be any kind of tension. But when you literally have him in the symbiote, basically backhand her, we
Not
no
even
longer...
back. He punched her in the face.
Yes. It's like, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to root for this guy. It's like, that's what my dad said, they made Spider-Man an asshole. And it's like, and it's like, you can make the symbiote, make him act evil somewhat without going to the point of, well, he slugged his girlfriend. Because it's like,
the girl he's planning to marry.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy.
No, nothing against the guy.
I know what they were going for with, like, he kind of resembles Tobey Maguire a little bit, facial expression somewhat, I know what they were going for.
Yeah.
But, man, it's like, it's kind of the same problem that I had, even though the actor was fine, with the new Spider-Man trilogy. It's Flash Thompson. Mm-hmm. Flash Thompson is not a little Indian guy. He's just not.
Well, yeah, he's not tiny and skinny.
Like, if you want to make him a big Indian guy, fine. But Flash Thompson is usually built like a football player.
Well, because he's a football star.
So it's like, and I know what they were going for. It was more like they're all smart kids in it, but it's it's just
bullying him mentally rather than physically.
Yeah, and it's like that's the problem. It's
even though Flash Thompson bullied him mentally in the comic books anyway.
And Eddie Brock is a bigger guy, so it's like I'm not saying you have to like I said like Brock Lesnar, young Brock Lesnar looks exactly like fucking Eddie Brock. He's built like No, yeah, Brock Lesnar's not going to be an actor.
No.
But, like, if you wanted to just, without him saying anything, put him in the goddamn suit so the Venom actually looks fucking intimidating instead of this small little twerpy.
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me on this rewatch, because I seen this film in 2007 in a packed theater that was so excited, and feeling that excitement ebb and ebb and ebb over the course of the film it sucked. Yeah. It was just a crappy experience, and I remember coming away from the film like really not liking Topher Grace in the film. Fair. And thinking that, well, at least the Venom effect looked good when his face was covered. But of course, like, hearing Topher Grace's voice come out of Venom, why? You can't even, like, digitally, like, lower his voice? Yeah. Silly. However, I will say, on rewatching the film years later, and just seeing Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, it's like, because he carries it with this very smarmy charm, and and he's got presence, and he's got like kind of like this like with Peter the whole time. Yeah. And it's interesting to watch, like, had they actually spent any time on it. Yeah. And it's all like, you know what? I actually do not mind Topher Grace in this film. He's just the wrong choice for Eddie Brock. Yeah. But I don't mind this performance. Yeah. He just should have been playing another character. Yeah. And then another thing that stuck out that we talked about, that Venom effect that seemed so cool back in 2007 really doesn't seem like shit now, especially now that we've got two Venom movies where it looks a lot better, and he actually is built and gigantic, and like watching the Venom scenes in Spider-Man 3 now, it's like, this Venom is so tiny. Right. He's so itty-bitty. He's so wee. I could stick him in my pocket.
And the thing is, like, even if you wanted to say, all right, we're sticking with Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, as soon as he transforms to Venom, he needs to grow bigger.
Yeah, like, there's no reason to, like, keep him the same size. Yeah, like,
and then you have to take his voice away, too. Yeah. He just has that, he has
just get somebody else to dub the voice, or, like I said, just digitalize his voice lower.
Well, it's like, I mean...
We had that technology in 2007.
I think in the video, I think at least one of the video games, they had Tony Todd being the voice of Venom. And
it's that's the most recent one that just came out.
That would have been fine. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's like
Tony Todd would be Todd's voice coming out of Venom.
He did that on the Flash, for
Reverse Flash.
Yeah. No, not Reverse Flash.
No,
Professor Zoom or whatever it was. But he was a Flash. So it's like I think there were better ways to go about it.
There really were, and it's very disappointing that we got what we got, because it just feels like a cobbled, smushy mess.
And Gwen Stacy doesn't need to be there.
She is completely useless.
There's nothing for her.
She adds nothing, and it sucks. Because Bryce Dallas Howard is so. I like her too, and she looks lovely in the film, and and she's talented, and it's like, why have you literally given this poor woman nothing to work with? Right. Like,
Yes. Oh, we have to address the most infamous character that we despise.
Oh.
Fucking
the true
Bernard.
Yes, the true villain of the Spider-Man trilogy.
So from watching the trilogy again, I do not remember this character even being in the first movie.
He wasn't.
Yeah. He's nowhere there. He's just popped.
Bernard, so just for context, Bernard is the Osborn family butler.
He's their own personal Alfred, except
he has known Harry since he was a baby, He was with Norman. It's implied for all of Norman's life as well.
Yeah.
He is not in the first movie.
He's not.
At all.
No.
You know, the one that focuses on Norman.
And he's only in one scene in the second movie. Yeah.
Right!
So anyway, we have this whole thing, this big battle between Harry and Spider-Man and all this stuff. The entire point of reason of why Harry's trying to kill Spider-Man. And then we got Butler Bernard coming in. After Spider-Man is like, you know, coming to try to say, hey, I need your help against Sandman and Venom. They've taken Mary Jane. We got to help her. And, of course, Harry's got this, you know, scar on his face from the fight that they had.
Yeah, so
despite
he could be
the fact
real...
that he had, you know, healed just fine from things earlier, from the Goblin Serum. But
right. But we want him to be the Phantom of the Opera, so whatever.
So anyway, after that, he says, go away, get out, you know. And then Bernard decides to reveal, at this moment, by the way, not 2 fucking movies ago.
Right.
Granted, he wasn't there in the first movie, so yeah. But
at
any point in fucking time, we'll get to another retcon in a minute we forgot to mention. But,
okay, sure.
Harry, I loved you as I have loved your father. And, I cleaned his wounds the night that he died. And they were self-inflicted, so, yeah. Yeah. I could have told you this fucking shit, you know,
Years
a long
ago.
fucking time ago so that you weren't getting all raged out and taking the serum and chasing down Spider-Man and ruining your friendship and getting half blown up by your fucking face. But I thought I should just mention this now to try to inspire you to go help your friend.
It is the worst written Deus Ex Machina that could have been in the film. Also, as you were mentioning this, that also it's all like, yeah, during my time in butlering school, I learned how to, they teach forensic classes, apparently.
Those wounds are definitely self-inflicted. I watched an episode of CSI. I know. I learned shit.
Yeah, it's all like, how would you even... You're a butler. You're not a medical professional. Right. You're not...
I'm here for exposition. This is how I talk.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
It is so bad. Fuck Bernard.
Yes. Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
It's
like
so
I said,
lazy.
The other retcon that happens in this movie, and is the main crux of the problem with Sandman in the movie is that this is his role, is that we also retcon the person who shot Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And we just like, oh, Sandman was there. No, he wasn't. What the fuck?
Right.
And it's just like, and then this whole battle, which of course Spider-Man kills him, you know, in his venomized, you know, suit, and like, it's just like, it doesn't give Thomas Hayden Church much to do beyond saying, besides robbing money from trucks and saying his daughter's sick.
Yeah, it's like there's already so much going on in this film. We did not need the subplot of Peter's reawakened trauma about Uncle Ben.
And it's just...
We did not need this.
And it's like, you know, his scene at the end, you know, is a nice scene, but like, you know, when he's talking about how it happened and all that, and it's well acted, but it's just like, this didn't need to be here.
It did not need to be there. That lovely, well-acted scene could have been about something else.
Yeah.
It could have been how he fell into a life of crime trying to provide money for his daughter because
you can still have the daughter
because the
probably
healthcare system sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
there were ways to go about it.
There were this was not needed. Like, and that's really what makes this movie like. Because, like, it's cheesy, but I don't think it's cheesy in a way that the other two films were not cheesy. Like, that's just kind of the style that Sam Raimi is going for.
Right.
But what makes it, like, really feel cheesy is the fact that the human elements either aren't there, they're really contrived, or they just ring hollow. So that makes the cheesiness, like, stick out.
True.
And it's just all like, I will say, in the positive notes, that last scene, you know, regardless of how things, happened, that last scene of Peter and Mary Jane dancing together.
Yeah.
A lovely way to end this trilogy.
True.
I just wish it was in a better movie.
Yeah, and I and there's a nice last scene with Harry when he's
and they're both holding him because they were his two best friends.
Yeah. But like, anyway, so a definite miss, and then I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, it was all the studio's fault, but I'm like, I'm sorry, I like Sam Raimi, but he's has some faults here too.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of times like, I'll just blame it on the studio. It's like, no, there were still some things that you chose to do that were not fucking smart. Okay. Number one, 3 fucking villains should not have happened. If you can't balance them, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Like, No Way Home had, 5, basically, villains? Mm-hmm. No, they weren't all at the forefront as much. Some were more in the background.
Yeah,
but like,
Sandman and Lizard to the backseat.
Which is fine. But they were there. They were established. They had their moments. So it's like... Mm-hmm. There wasn't like 3 different fucking arcs that you had to go through, or 10 different arcs. And, we got to get back to this character, so let's get Sam off screen for a while. And we're gonna go back to this, and it was just a mess.
Yeah.
And I'm not fully blaming Sam Raimi for it. No. I think he's learned from it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, when you hear about some of the plans for Spider-Man 4, that would be interesting. We would have had Vulture and all that. Mm-hmm. But then they were talking like
and Felicia Hardy.
Yeah. But they were talking about making Anne Hathaway the Vulturess. I'm like, no, that's fucking... No. That's Batman and Robin type shit.
Yeah.
So, like, as much as it'd be interesting to see the Spider-Man 4, I'm glad that particular version did not happen.
Right.
So that we could get Michael Keaton as Vulture. Although Malkovich would have been good. He would have been excellent, I'm sure. Good old Malkovich. But,
someday he'll get his chance to shine.
So, what we're going to do now,
yes,
because we've talked... for an hour.
Yep.
But anyway, we cover 3 movies. Yeah. We're going to try to take a stab at trying to fix Spider-Man 3. Because like I said, we liked the first 2. They were solid. A good start. But what we need is kind of a way to fix this movie and pretty much set up for a 4th one. To start a new trilogy, essentially. So why don't we go over some of the things that we noted that we are going to change.
Yeah. So. And you said that the rule was that we have to keep the cast, right?
Yes, we have to keep the cast. You can use anybody else that's in the cast that maybe had a bit part to work around certain characters that you want.
But yeah, that means we are juggling a lot of villains.
True, but let's focus on what we have a plan for and how we end the movie.
Yeah.
So let's go through this list here.
Yes. So our first idea, because like Topher Grace actually wasn't that bad in the movie. Like, I kind of feel bad for him in retrospect that he got dumped on so hard. He just wasn't the right choice for Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
So instead, we're gonna cast him as Roderick Kingsley.
Yes.
AKA Hobgoblin.
So we mentioned that.
Justice for Hobgoblin!
Yeah. Right? Yeah, we consider, like, Anna had originally suggested Ned Leeds, and I'm like, let's just go with Roderick Kingsley, because then...
the original.
So what we can do is that, rather than Harry going through the whole serum thing, he can just play off being rich.
Yeah.
It's like, why I have to do it? I want my revenge, but I can get this guy here. So he will hire Roderick Kingsley and have him, he's going to try to redesign things or try to, mess with the serum a bit and all that.
And he winds up getting exposed and becomes Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
And
so there's your first villain established. So Harry kind of background villainy.
Sort of like a pulling the strings.
Yeah, pulling the strings type thing.
And we were also like that Roderick, because, and this is comic book accurate, Roderick Kingsley does employ Flint Marko and other like low level street criminals to like do his dirty work. Yeah. Because he's a socialite. Yeah. And he also has money.
There you go.
And so we were going to have him employ Flint Marko to help him, and I probably just turn him into the Sandman.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Maybe at a beach instead of a random.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck were they doing with that?
Yeah, like
what is this fucking experiment?
Yeah, like have it be intentional rather than him wandering into a sand trap and get inside.
Maybe it's a bird. I'm sure it's just a bird.
I'm sure it's
Should
fine.
we check?
Turn on the nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
What the heck was that? That was so crazy. So not that. So we'll turn him into Sandman, purposefully.
Yeah. Now here's something, you didn't write it down, but I
Yeah.
was just thinking about it. I'm like, what could be interesting is that, like, I think as we talk about later that, Harry will start to realize what he's done wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe Roderick Kingsley, even though he's a socialite and rich himself, with the Sandman, maybe he's trying to also get some more of Osborn's money or Osborn's tech.
He's trying to undermine him.
Yeah, if he's got a thief right there,
Yeah. And then like if we want to have some sympathy for Flint Marko, like his whole willingness to like basically destroy his body for this is that the payout will go to his sick daughter.
Yeah, you can still go with the sick daughter.
We can still have the sick daughter and just not make it stupid.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Let Thomas Hayden Church have his big dramatic moments, but do it in a way that makes sense.
Right, and I think it's what's interesting, especially with Topher Grace being Roderick Kingsley, is that you can kind of have this kind of like, we're both young socialite rich kids who think we're smarter than the other one.
Yeah, we think. Yeah, exactly.
So that can be a very nice dynamic. Because I don't think really, other than the fight scene, they don't really interact in the movie.
They don't.
So,
they don't have any need to, because the rivalry is supposed to be between him and Peter. But it also, because it actually gives Harry Osborn something to do, because he really has nothing to do in this movie except get amnesia and then turn evil again for a hot second, and then
eat a pie and smile.
Good.
Good.
So good. And then turn good again for the big climax and die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's it. And this will give him some more to do.
Since you had mentioned it, maybe why he gets a bit distracted, play on the addiction.
Yeah.
That can be kind of his background thing. And you could just go with drinking if you want. You don't have to necessarily go with drugs. But,
right.
And that's why he kind of takes his eye off the prize, and why they're able to take the money from him
and
that thing,
and Roderick can take advantage of him that way. And,
Okay.
Let's see what else here. So the symbiote coming to Earth, because in the movie it just fucking crash lands on a meteor, and it's really stupid.
It is.
And it hangs out in Peter's backpack for how long?
Pretty long.
It would have starved by that point.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Contrived. Especially when we had a freaking astronaut in the last movie. Just follow the comic book and have John Jameson accidentally bring the symbiote back to Earth with him.
Yeah, he was in space. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he just went into space.
And maybe Peter Parker's there having to take pictures.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is very awkward, because it's like, this motherfucker took my fiance. Maybe even have a brief moment of tension between them,
Right.
It doesn't have to be a full one. He doesn't have to become Man-Wolf. But...
Yeah, well, I was thinking, I wrote this down, is that, because they kind of have him assisting Dr. Connors in this film. If Dr. Connors is like to study the symbiote, because surely NASA wouldn't be so stupid as to not notice fucking black goo.
Yeah.
So if he's brought in to study the symbiote and Peter's there to assist him, and then something goes wrong, whatever, Peter accidentally gets exposed. And that's how it latches onto him.
That makes sense. Yeah. Good points.
And so we can still have the black suit storyline. Yeah. Because I do think that's a cool storyline, having him delve into this darker side of it, this easier way of doing things, and not really knowing until it's too late that it's this is the wrong path. And I had put down that we're still doing the black suit thing, and evil Peter and Bully Maguire and all that. But his moment where he realizes that things are going wrong and he can't rely on this suit anymore, is where he thinks he's killed Sandman.
Now the one thing there is that there has to be a good reason for him to be at that level. I mean, besides the suit, because at least in the other version, he's trying to kill him because he killed Uncle Ben. But here we have to have a motivation for why he's going that far, because it wouldn't make sense for him to just be like, "Hey, random criminal!"
If Sandman is working for Hobgoblin, and that's he's fighting Hobgoblin, he's still on the side of right because he's fighting
right
bad guys. But it's like having it level up as sort of a thing. He notices that it's easier when he stops pulling his punches. It's easier when he just boom. It's, you know, and then like it's like ratcheting up, and then when Sandman isn't going down as easily as the other villains are, he's getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and so he's going harder and harder and harder.
Perhaps another motivation you could have there is that he also notices Harry's addiction, and maybe he feels that like Harry's been associating with these guys, and Simon's a little of a criminal, so he figured, well, maybe he got him hooked on the stuff, and you know, whatever the case.
I like.
So there's a motivation. He's defending his friend. So that gets that in there.
But I do like that.
Yeah, cool.
But basically the idea is that him thinking that he actually went too far and killed someone is his breaking point. So that way we don't have to have him punch MJ or be or any of that bullshit.
So what is MJ doing in this movie? Because we have not mentioned her.
We have not mentioned her at all.
At all.
At all. So, I feel like we can still keep the plot of like her struggle, finding trying to find the balance of, you know, of being you know, Spider-Man's girlfriend, and
and I think you
also
can play
like
off
her
of like from our own history of like, you know, when you start dating someone and then you're long distance, you know, kind of thing of like, and even though they're in the same city, like there's that distance because he's constantly on the go, you know.
He has to be Spider-Man.
So this is kind of an adjustment for her too. So you can play off of that. You can technically even play with the Broadway struggles if you do it in a better way.
So, here's what I was thinking, and I can't take credit for this idea. This is actually something that was going to be, I can't remember if it was going to be in Spider-Man 3 or in Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
But there was this plot line that got cut from the script where MJ is up for a really big Broadway role.
Okay.
She's been going through all the callbacks and all the audition processes, and then at the last callback, she winds up getting cut and not getting the part, and she asks them why.
Yeah.
And the director yells, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you. You're very beautiful. You're very beautiful. You have wonderful stage presence, but you're not emotionally open." And that, which is a tie-in, like it's a direct link to her broken childhood with her abusive parents. That she has trouble opening up emotionally as an actor. And that got cut from the film, but it's all like, it's all like, so using that to explore and like, so having her have some self-reflection about opening up emotionally as an actor, and then real like maybe that she wants to open up emotionally more to Peter, you know, because like the fact that she was willing to use someone else's feelings for her to like create a wall between them, like that you know, that speaks to her own inability to open up. So like that is kind of more of like an emotional journey rather than an actiony journey. But I feel like that could get like, so like the idea is that of her emotional maturity and her ability to or like gaining the ability to open up and be vulnerable, and through that creating a stronger relationship with Peter and being a stronger support system to him when he is in trouble.
Right. So the other casting change to a different character is we're cutting Gwen Stacy out because we're
if she wasn't in the first one, she's not going to be here.
Yeah, because plus like, she was his first girlfriend before Mary Jane. I mean, they were technically around at the same time in the comics.
They were.
But like, you know, if she hasn't been introduced, it doesn't make sense, and they didn't do anything with her anyway.
Right.
So we're going to change it up because you notice she has blonde hair. And who else has blonde hair? The Black Cat. Now, this could be a way to explore somewhat of the relationshipy stuff they were kind of going for, but in a better way. Because Black Cat is not attracted to Peter Parker. She's attracted to Spider-Man. So you play off that a little bit. She's a thief, much like Catwoman. So you can have maybe a dynamic that, you know, a rivalry of sorts with Flint Marko because they're both thieves. They're both going for this. And that can also be a tension with Spider-Man because he knows that she's a thief and he's trying to stop. So very much the Batman-Catwoman dynamic without going too far. But yeah, like I said, I said before, you can have some of the tension with him and Mary Jane happen just in a better way.
Yeah, in a way that is not contrived.
Yeah.
And as you're talking, I'm just realizing it's like, so it's the Sinister Four? Is that those are our villains? Because we got Harry Osborn, Hobgoblin, Sandman, and Black Cat.
Right. But yeah, I would say that like that would be a way to, and I think Black Cat was going to be in Spider-Man.
She was supposed to, yeah.
But like, there's a way there to explore that a little bit. But like I said, we would balance it out better so it doesn't feel like, well, let's get this character out of the way. Or, it's like it would feel like there's a plot from the beginning, like with Kingsley and Sandman, and that like so that like the Black Cat feels like her purpose is there and not just like, well, here I am,
Yeah, like she's there to help steal shit.
Yeah.
To help Roderick steal shit. That's why she's there.
Yeah.
She doesn't really need another reason.
Yeah,
frankly.
Exactly. And then there can be like some scenes with her and Spider-Man and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like pretty much about as many scenes as there were between her and between him and Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Like we're just like replacing those scenes
Yeah.
and making it more cohesive to the storyline.
Okay, so interestingly though, I also thought of something though.
Oh sure.
Because you still have James Cromwell playing Captain Ed Stacy.
That's right.
So do we want to keep him with Ed Stacy with Gwen Stacy not being there, or do we change him to a different character?
I'm thinking Arthur Toombs.
Oh, Vulture.
Pre-Vulture.
Pre-Vulture. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
just Toombs.
Because
he kind of looks like it
and he's,
too.
he's really tall.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The way that
Bingo.
the way that Dr. Connors isn't Lizard yet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I like that. You're setting some things up. Like with the MCU or something. That's like.
This is how to properly set up a Spider-Verse, Sony. Not giving Craven lines, but anyway. Anyway.
Not Morbius. Anyway.
Intriguing. It's Morbin time.
Morbin time.
So yeah, basically, like the climax is Harry coming to his senses and helping Peter defeat Hobgoblin.
Yeah. Now here's the question: does Harry die, or does he still go on?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
How do you want to do that?
I don't know. It's one of those things where like, it's ending a trilogy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there feels like there should be some kind of stakes, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's kill him.
Okay. Let's kill that bastard off. Yeah. Now, in a perfect world, if we were to do the trilogy over, then Green Goblin would be there the whole time. But we don't. We can't do that. We're working within the confines of just this movie.
Film.
So,
yeah. But yeah, I would think, I don't know why I wrote it here, but like, obviously Peter would rid himself of the symbiote.
Yes.
Well before the climax, because, can't be carrying that around during the climax.
Now, I had a thought before you get to this symbiote thing.
Sure.
Because I did not, and honestly, when we watched it, was the first time that I noticed this at the funeral scene for Harry Osborn. You pointed out that Joe Manganiello was there.
Flash makes a cameo at Harry's funeral.
Now, while I would absolutely like Venom to be Eddie Brock, Flash Thompson is Agent Venom.
Yes.
Now, I don't think he was officially Agent Venom yet in the comics at this point, but
no, he wasn't.
Working around with it, we have Joe Manganiello right there. At least in this continuity, we're not seeing him and Peter become friends at all.
Right.
So
it's kind of interesting that he even showed up at Harry's funeral because they weren't
friends either.
They weren't friends either.
So unless they're just going with off screen, they became. It's like, but like you haven't developed it. So if you wanted to, because there's changes here and there, or you can still bring Eddie Brock into the next movie somewhere, and maybe he gets it. But like Joe Manganiello's character could still technically be a bully to Peter somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean. He's got MJ, so there's still that, But
or just a myriad of reasons.
Yeah. So you could go that route.
Yeah. Or he could it could have nothing to do with Peter. He's just upset about the trajectory his life has gone because he peaked in high school.
Right? That's true. That's true. So that's an option. Or we can also go with... now, here's a question. And we can't say Tom Hardy. Because that's way off. If you had to have someone casted as Eddie Brock, because the idea behind it is that we basically set up Venom at the end of the movie to go into the next movie.
Yeah, like right after our lovely dance scene between Peter and MJ.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, the idea is that when Peter has disposed of the symbiote, like he thinks he's gotten rid of it, but it's just hiding out somewhere, and then someone would pass by underneath, and the symbiote would drop down, and they turn into Venom. That Venom face, blackout, end of movie.
Right.
The Empire Strikes Back ending, essentially.
Yes. Now, I would also say that we could keep Black Cat somewhat connected there, like maybe even feel, maybe she gets kind of a change of heart a little bit.
Yeah.
So that she could potentially pop up in the next movie too. So she,
like
with the loss of Harry, we get another.
Yeah, I was right. Well, I was about to say that since Harry and Hobgoblin would, be dead at the end of the film, but Sandman and Black Cat both they peace out.
Yeah, yeah.
So
gotcha.
kind of like how it went in the film, but like not stupid.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so that way you have two deaths and two like quasi redemption arcs.
So I just in this moment had a choice for Eddie Brock.
Okay.
It just kind of came out of left field for me just in the moment. Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh.
He's got the blonde hair. He's kind of,
I can see, and he would have been like big in his Dead Zone era at the time. So he would have been like really buff, and in shape. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, it would be like sort of basically the idea is that it either like I really like this.
Yeah.
Either,
just out of the blue.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Either Eddie Brock, Flash Thompson, or John Jameson.
Yeah.
Are unfortunate enough to pass by under the symbiote and they get turned into Venom. That was how we were planning to end the film.
Yeah. Interestingly, in the video game, they actually have Harry Osborn.
Yes.
Venom. Yeah. The most recent one.
Yeah, that's actually, there was a cartoon series in the 20-teens where that was a subplot.
Yeah.
Like Harry was Venom instead of Eddie Brock.
Yeah. Cool. So that's kind of our pitch of what we would do with Spider-Man 3, which could lead into Spider-Man 4. So maybe we'll do another video where we plan out a trilogy of 4, 5, 6.
And also, because it can't be said enough, fuck Bernard.
Yeah. Fuck Bernard. He's nowhere in this movie.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
So, now we've done that, we are going to watch the Amazing Spider-Man. There's only 2 of them.
The duology.
So what we will probably do is watch both of those, comment on those, maybe fix some things here and there, because there's problems in both of those. Less so in the first one than the second one.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of set up for, maybe even pitch Amazing Spider-Man 3 of what could have been, and what the universe they were setting up, and changes you could make to characters and things like that. So yeah, we will rewatch those movies soon. Yeah, and then maybe we'll watch the new trilogy too if we want, but that's a little fresh in our mind.
Watch the MCU trilogy.
We can. Yeah, and we can.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, and we can always talk about it from the beginning and see how things developed. So cool. This got a little long, but I kind of figured it would. And hey, it wasn't just me rambling for an hour and a half.
It was me too.
A much more pretty face to look at than this this old schlub here. I was turning British for some reason. So again, thanks guys. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. We'll try to do more of these. Maybe we can tackle some Batman movies sometime. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.